For today's topic, it is all about the purpose of classroom assessment. What is the purpose of classroom assessment? We have the central purpose, the kind of approach, and examples. Let's tackle about the central purpose. The central purpose of classroom assessment is to empower both teachers and their students to improve the quality of learning in the classroom. And through an approach that is learner-centered means it is the learner-centered learning or the student learners learning. The approach is centered only for the learners, like modules. It is a type of self learning. Let's go back. Through an approach that is learner-centered, teachers-directed, mutually beneficial, formative context specific, firmly rooted in a good practice, according to Angelo and Cross, 1993. Another, classroom assessment is a systematic approach to formative evaluation used by the instructors to determine how much and how well students are learning. Yes, classroom assessment is a systematic form of approach in evaluating the learning of the learners. It is usually used to determine on how the students are learning the lessons of or the topics that are being discussed. An example, here are the example, minute papers and Madius points. This is the best known and easiest form of classroom assessment tools. These are used to assess course-related knowledge and skills of every learner. So purpose of classroom assessment continuation. Assessment. Assessment is used to inform and guide teaching and learning. A good classroom assessment plan gathers evidence of the student learning that informs teachers' instructional decisions. Assessment also helps the students set learning goals. Students need frequent opportunities to reflect on where their learning is at and what needs to be done to achieve their learning goals. And assessment also assign report card grades. Provide parents, employers, and other school governments, post-secondary institutions, and the others with summary information about student learning. Next, motivate students. According to research by Davis 2004, Stigens et al. 2004 has shown that students will be motivated and confident learners when they experience progress and achievements, rather than failure and defeat associated with being compared to more successful peers. So, in a point of view student, comparing with another student who has the capacity to excel in their grades, it is a matter of degrading the other student who is not capable of excelling in grades. So, as a teacher, dapat you should not compare yung student mo sa ganyan and sa ganito. You should motivate your students to be like her or to be like that. We should keep in mind that motivating students give opportunity to excel in their own strategies or to cope up with the lessons and to catch up. Next. Examples of classroom assessment techniques. Yan, this is the first example. 3-2-1 format is a quick and simple student writing activity. As you can see, here is the example of 3-2-1 chart. Some instructors or teachers are using this form of classroom assessment tool. the students are tasked to write 3 things you learned from the topic, 2 things that you found interesting about the topic, and 1 question you still have and you want to ask about the topic. Next. Ito naman, focused listing. Focused listing is a quick and simple student writing activity. As you can see, here in example, we love stories and we love narrative. We love to get lost in an author's world by Jeff Bezos. So here the student or learner are tasked to write what is the focus areas about the certain topic. Maybe the students are, for example, the students are tasked to read a story, read a poem. This type of CAT are used to identify the main idea of the certain topic. So to enable the students to identify the main topic of the story and to able that the student to able that the student will learn to write about the story. And focus listing is a quick and simple student writing activity which enables students to enhance their skills in writing. Madias point. Let's go back. So Madias point is a quick and simple technique where students identify a challenging or focusing concept. So what is Madias point technique? The Madias point is a classroom assessment technique, or CAT, developed by Professor Musteler of Harvard in 1989. The teacher asked students at the end of the teaching session to write down on a card or online the answer to the question, what was the muddiest point, most confusing point addressed today, or any similar question, according to Angelo and Cross. Some teachers uses this type of CAT on assessing the learner's learning. So, for example, regarding the topic mythology, the teacher would ask the learners to get a paper and write what is the confusing point regarding mythology, like that. So parang ang way nito sa Madias point is to identify kung sa anong part nahihirapan yung student, or yung student naman hindi magets yung part na yon. So pag nalaman niyo ng teacher or ng instructor, mas mapagtutuunan niya ng pansin yung weakness ng child, and that child through that parang na-assess ng teacher yung learning ng child, and alam naman ng teacher kung paano i-address yung ng child, kung paano niya matutunan yung lesson. And parang parang way ng identifying the weakness and improving it sa side ng student. And sa teacher naman, parang it is room for improvement to improve the quality of teaching method. Yan, 1-minute paper. Minute paper is an introductory technique for a student writing activity. Example of questions for a 1-minute paper. What was the most important learning point for you from this lesson? Yeah, this is a simple guide questions. And we can also use what was the concept of the lesson? What is the central idea of the lesson? And etc. So another question is, what is still not clear to you from the lesson? Or can also use muddy or confusing an edge. Here, what is not clear to you, parang ina-address ng teacher yung said a while ago na yung hindi masyadong naiintindihan ng students. Mas na-address ng teacher kung paano niya ituturo or ipapaintindi dun sa student yung gustong maintindihan ng student dahil hindi masyadong marunong mag-catch up yung student. And it enables the learners to learn, to adapt, and also the vice versa on the teacher's part or role. So assessment plays a major role in how students learn their motivation to learn and how teachers teach and assessment for learning, where assessment helps teachers gain insight into what students understand in order to plan and guide instruction and provide helpful feedbacks to students. The role of classroom assessment in teaching and learning. According to CSU Technical Report 517, Lori A. Shepard-Crest, University of Colorado at Boulder. Tools and assessment forms is a broader range of assessment tools is needed to capture important learning goals and to more directly connect assessment to ongoing instruction. Next. Multiple modes of assessment. To ensure fairness and transfer variety and assessment techniques is a virtue, not just because different learning goals are amenable to assessment by different devices, but because the mode of assessment interacts in a complex ways with the very nature and what is being assessed, and qualitative methods of evaluation and data synthesis evaluating. Open-ended SAS and drawing valid inferences from both formal and informal data sources requires new methods of data analysis and interpretation. And improving the content of assessments is important, but it is not sufficient to ensure that assessment will be used to enhance learning. And changing the role of assessment in a culture in the classroom. Another informations lang yun. So roles, to sum it up, roles of assessment in classroom instruction or learning. Enhance learning in the instruction process of the results, provide feedback to both teachers and students, used to evaluate the teaching methodologies and strategies of the teacher, used to make teaching decisions, results are used to diagnose the learning problems of the student. Yan. Assessment for learning, assessment as learning, assessment of learning. For assessment of learning, it enables teachers to use information about students' knowledge, understanding, and skills to inform their teaching. Teacher provides feedback to students about their learning on how to improve, ascertain, And for assessment as learning, it involves students in the learning process where they monitor their own progress, ask questions, and practice skills. Students use self-assessment teacher feedback to reflect on their learning, consolidate their understanding, and work towards learning goals. And for the assessment of learning, assist teachers to use evidence of student learning to assess student achievement against learning goals and standards. On our next video, that's all. Thank you. On our next video, we'll just discuss more about the assessment of learning, assessment for learning, assessment as learning. So that's all for now. Thank you.